Empower Black men to live extraordinary lives. Shatter the stereotypes. Power Black men. Power Black men. Shatter the stereotypes. Power Black men to live extraordinary lives. Shatter the stereotypes. Shatter the stereotypes. Power Black men to live extraordinary lives.
Welcome to Shatter the Stereotypes, where the intention is to empower Black men to live extraordinary lives. This show is based on the simple idea that every Black man is capable of creating inner peace, dynamic health, great relationships, and financial abundance. Therefore, we provide insights and strategies to educate, motivate, and inspire Black men to reach their full potential and create the life of their dreams. So if you're ready for some high-octane motivation and inspiration that supports and empowers you to live the life you were born to live, get ready to shatter the stereotypes so you can build a life that lights you up and positively impacts the world. So now, let's shatter the stereotypes with your host, Coach Michael Taylor.
Hello and welcome to Shatter the Stereotypes, where my intention is to empower Black men to live extraordinary lives. You see, there's never been a shortage of Black male role models. There's only been a lack of exposure of those role models in mainstream media. So my intention is to showcase and highlight Black men who are doing remarkable things in the world. And since the intention of this show is to shatter negative stereotypes, I'd like to pose a question. Is there such a thing as a positive stereotypes? If you pay attention to mainstream media, you may recognize there are 3 stereotypes about Black men that appear to be positive. For example, Black men can sing, Black men can dance, and Black men can play sports. So, are these stereotypes positive? For the most part, I believe they are, but at the same time, they're still stereotypes. The truth is, not all Black men can sing, not all Black men can dance, and not all Black men can play sports. But what's important is that we have positive role models that inspire us to find our passions and live our dreams. And in a lot of cases, entertainers and athletes can definitely serve as positive role models. A perfect example would be Muhammad Ali. Ali was definitely a positive role model who was not only an incredible athlete, he was also an activist who used his celebrity to improve the lives of Black people in America and inspired us to become the best that we could be. At a time when we are inundated with negative images of Black men in mainstream news, it's extremely important that we see positive stories of Black men. And that is the reason I launched the Shatter the Stereotypes movement, to showcase and highlight positive stories about Black men. And my guest tonight is someone who is definitely a positive role model. He's a 3-time NBA world champion, as well as a humanitarian, a loving husband, and a caring father. So it is my absolute pleasure to welcome Mr. Mario Elie to the show. Hello, Mario. How are you?
Doing well, my brother. Thank you for having me on the show tonight.
All righty. Well, I really appreciate taking some time out of your busy schedule to chat with us on Shatter the Stereotypes. And so before we jump into basketball, we want to start off with a few icebreakers. So first of all, tell us where you're from.
I'm from New York City, Upper West Side, Manhattan, New York City. Love my city.
There you go. Now, you like movies?
Back then I did.
Back in the day. So if I ask you to mention one of your favorite movies, what first comes to mind?
You know what comes to mind? West Side Story.
The
West
old
Side.
one?
There were 2. There was a West Side. No, not the new one. The old one with Rita Moreno. Just the singing, the dancing. You know, sort of the conflict, the story involved.
Absolutely.
He sort of growing up in New York around Spanish and, understanding what was going on in that movie. And also Brian's song, the story about Gail Sayers and the running back who died of the disease. I thought that was a great movie. So those were the sort of 2 movies I remember as a young man.
I still can't watch that movie without crying.
Exactly. Both movies. I'm a baby. Everybody see me tough on the court. But when I saw both of those movies, boy, I couldn't help it. Those were, like you said, tearjerker. Both movies were just amazing movies.
Absolutely. Now, name a woman who's inspired you to be the man that you are today.
Odette Elie, It's crazy. I'm on your show. This year, she passed away in March, 94 years old. I laid my mom to rest. One of the toughest days of my life, but she was just an amazing lady. It's like you said, if you know my story, my parents are from Haiti. They came over from Haiti, and my mom came over first, then my dad. And you see what's going over there now. It was still pretty bad back then also. So I thank God for my mom and dad for coming over here and giving me just a great life and giving me opportunity to grow.
Nothing like that mother's love, huh?
Yes, indeed. Odette Elie, love her to death. Miss her every day.
There you go. So name a man that you look up to and admire.
There's two people, my dad and my brother. Really respect my dad. If you know if you're from New York, you know it's just a lot of people, a lot of traffic. You know, we lived in Manhattan. My dad worked all the way out in Long Island. If you know the logistics in New York, that's like an hour and 15-minute drive.
Wow.
But he got up at 4 a.m. He had to be at work at 5 and went to bed at 7, 8 o'clock. Just his work ethic. And my brother, he was the one that really introduced me to the game of basketball. I know we go into my hoop story later, but I was a big baseball guy. That was my first sport. You know, I really love baseball. And like I mentioned, growing up in New York was amazing. I grew up around a bunch of nationalities, white, German, but mostly Spanish. Those were really my best friends growing up. And we used to play baseball all the time until my brother Clark Elie, he's not with us no more. My older brother Clark, he's the one that really put a basketball on my hand, and the rest is history.
Wow. So what does Mario like to do for fun?
Well, when you got 3 kids, man, you know, you're scared. And triplets at that. I got 20-year-old triplets, you know, kids in college. You know, you gotta pay apartment now. My kids are gonna be juniors in college now. So their schedule is just crazy. Got all kind of stuff going on. You know, I do a lot of stuff. You know, my wife, she's on TV. She has a lot going on. So it's just a busy household for the Elie family. But the kids are ready to get back to college. You know, things gonna be settling down just a little.
I understand you like golf.
I do not.
You do not?
No, I'm not a big golf fan. No, sir.
Oh,
You know, I
okay.
do a lot of I like doing the charity golf events where it's a team. So I know I'm bad, so I got 3 other guys sort of to pick me up. But I just like the camaraderie on the golf course. I know guys love it. But, you know, you got to play that game every day. That's one of the most difficult games you ever play. You got to be on that course every day. And, you know, this Houston heat, man, ain't nothing nice. Like, I don't want to be out 100-degree weather hitting no golf ball. I'd rather be in this AC.
Right. I got you. Now, if I were to grab your phone or your media player, who are some of the artists I'd find on your playlist?
I'm old school, Earth, Wind, and Fire.
There you go. There you go. Come on now.
Aaron Hall, Mary J. Blige. A lot of old rap I love. I grew up on, you know, Jay-Z, of course. You know, P. Diddy was cranking back then. KRS-One, The Message, Melly Mel and those guys. So I grew up in an amazing area in New York City when that started, when the DJs were playing in the park. And everybody it was an amazing atmosphere. The park was packed. It was no trouble, nobody causing trouble. You know, police always thought we were causing trouble. They always would be around. But it was just great. The DJ's just outside with his turntables playing music, and we all out there jamming. So Michael Jackson, of course, the Jackson 5 I grew up on. You know, my sister used to play the Beatles, Stevie Wonder, the Whispers, so many. I got Nas. I mean, I can go R&B, hip hop, slow jam. Yeah, it was so many.
Gotcha. Now, name a book that's inspired you.
The biography of Malcolm X was a very interesting read because I was sort of part of that culture. When I was in college, I dated his daughter for 9, 10 years. So I really wanted to really get to know the man. And before I dated his daughter, she went to the youngest daughter. Her name is Malak Shabazz. I met her in college, and I knew the story about her dad, and I really wanted to know about him. He was just an amazing human being, and it's unfortunate the way he went out, but just enjoyed his strength, the fight, the way he changed. He went to jail and changed. It's this a world where people can change, and he did that in a positive way. So he was a man I really, really looked up to.
Did you ever have a chance to meet him?
I did not. I
Okay.
did not. He passed away way before. I may have been a young man when he passed, not even probably born. I think he died I was born in the 60s. I think
Okay.
he got killed.
Gotcha.
It's amazing he had all them girls. He had all girls, and my girlfriend was a twin. It was it was Malaka and Malika. And you
Okay.
got Kabila, you got Oyasa, you got Attila. So I think he had 5 or 6 girls.
Wow. Wow. Now, as a man who happens to be Black, are you optimistic or pessimistic about the future in general?
Wow, I'm very pessimistic, not liking what's going on. Just if you're not doing right, my word is accountability. And in our politics, if you do wrong, I mean, you deserve to get punished.
I
That's
agree.
what makes our country great. That's what makes America great. And it's sad, and we're in 2023. I'm in my 50s, and then we're still talking about racial issues, and that's very upsetting. And states like Florida and Texas, we all know they're really, really red. And I've been living here in Houston. Houston been an amazing place for me since '93, but I'm sort of getting a little sour on the politics. Not in the city, but in this state.
Gotcha. Now, speaking of race, I wrote a book titled The Cure for Onlyness, a Black Man's Guide to Joy, Passion, and Purpose. And in the book, I talk about the unique challenges that we as Black men face when we are the only people of color in certain environments. And I'm sure you've had that experience, so I'm curious how you navigate that.
It's a great point you make, but it's funny. When I started my pro career playing basketball, my first pro place was Ireland. I'm like, man, I'm going to Ireland. I mean, is there any brothers out there? I'm like, where am I going? This is my sort of first. In college, I played over there. The people were real nice, but it was very shocking, because most of the Americans who played overseas were African American, because we were the better players. It was two Americans per team. So I got over there. I'm like, wow, there's really not a lot of Black people out here. And I remember the other Americans who played there, we always would meet together in downtown Ireland. So I'll be on the subway and being the only Black guy on the train. I'm like, wow. But one thing I can tell you about the Irish people, they were amazing and so nice. They got to know me and what I did. I never really felt that racism over there. Then people were like, wow, this is a nice guy. And they treated me, once they got to know him, I felt really, after a while, I was just really comfortable, on the subway, and they knew who I was. They said, oh, he's a professional hooper, and, the games would be packed. So it was a pretty neat experience to go over there. And I was like, man, I'm the only brother out here. I mean, how is it going to work out?
Right.
And it ended up working out excellent. I really had a great experience over there.
Well, I would imagine, though, coming from New York, being exposed to so many diverse people, that probably made it a little easier too. Would you think?
It did, because if you read my bio, I went to Argentina, I went to Portugal, and those were great times too. And the people were really great. They always know you play professional basketball. Like I said, the Americans, it's usually mostly African American guys over there playing. So it was pretty neat. It was a great experience.
Now, one of the things I talk about on this show, obviously, we talk about shattering stereotypes, and we know all the negative stereotypes about Black men. But one thing that maybe people don't know about you is you actually speak 3 different languages.
Yeah, I got a chance to speak a little Portuguese. I played there for 2 years, and really got to know speak the language real well, because I was in a small farm town north of the capital, a place called Ovar. It had like 2 street lights. But I had playing 2 years because the town was great, the people were great, they treated us like kings. And me being from Haiti, they speak French Creole, so I speak a little French patois. And growing up without Spanish guys, growing up in my neighborhood, growing up around Spanish. I told you baseball was my first sport. So just that's what's great about New York. I love my city, just the diversity and growing around different nationalities, and that was a great experience.
Now, you mentioned earlier about your triplets, which I think is pretty amazing. Triplets. So you have boys, girls. Tell us about the
2 boys and a girl. Gaston is my people say, you got triplets. Who's the oldest? They came out one at a time. 32nd, Gaston first, Glenn second, and my daughter Lauren came out last. They're 20. It's crazy. I'm like, how time flies so fast. But you see the gray I got, dealing with them 3. But just 3 amazing kids. I love them all. As a parent, you go through your ups and downs. Being a parent is probably the most toughest job beside being a police officer. I'll tell you that. But just, raising 3 at one time. And, the first 2 months had to be the hardest 2 months of my life. Me and my wife, she's breastfeeding one. I'm feeding the other 2 every 3 hours. We're getting an hour and a half of sleep a night. So that first 2 months was really, really rough. And to the point we are now, I'm like, time is just going by with warp speed. I just remember them, taking them on the plane, all 3 of them with their little iPads, looking at with the headphones on, just being 7, 8 years old, looking at the pictures the other day, me and my wife, how young they were. And now these kids are big. My son got beards. She got a goatee. Like, my daughter, she got breasts and a big butt. I'm like, Lord, have mercy on me. So just a interesting journey. And people don't know, I had my triplets after I retired from basketball. Then I went on and coached for 10 years. I'm a dad living away from my family. My wife's working full time. So it was a challenge. I coached 10 years. I was away from my kids 10 years. I would see them in the summer, but during the season, I would see them now and then. But, to raise triplets, you got to be working, man. That's a lot of help you need.
Absolutely.
Always had 2 refrigerators. We still have 2 refrigerators now. I mean, these kids eat. They eat. So
tell me this. What do you love most about being a dad?
Well, like my daughter's been out of town. She said, Dad, I just miss you. Just you never know as a parent sometimes if you feel appreciated from your kids. But when your kids come up to you and tell you that I missed you, miss being around you, that gives you a good feeling. It's like, good. I did something right. And I did something right. Yeah, me and my wife, I mean, we did a great job of exposing our children to a very lot at a young age that I didn't have the opportunity to have. My kids been overseas. They've been to the Bahamas. They've been all over the United States. They've been to both Disney's in California and in Florida. I mean, they've been to Mexico. I mean, my kids been all over. And then with the AAU, with my sons playing AAU basketball and my daughter playing AAU volleyball. I mean, the towns, the hotels, the flights, the team dinners, the parents, just a great experience.
Yeah.
Because after I coached 10 years in the NBA, but I didn't coach. I was done after that, but I was able to be around for my kids during their high school days, which thank God I was around. Because a lot of stuff goes on in high school with these kids. They get a little mature. They learn how to drive. A lot goes on in the high school bathroom, as you know what I'm saying, if you're a parent. So we just have to go through all those situations. But to see them, my daughter's fine now, but to see the boys finally maturing, it's always the males that take a little more time to mature than the female.
There you go. Now, you're also an ambassador for the American Heart Association. I'm curious why that organization is important to you.
I haven't been involved in that in a while, but I think juvenile diabetes was the one I was really involved in
Okay.
because when I played, every 3 point I made, I would donate to the juvenile diabetes because my dad's died of a heart attack and
Mm,
diabetic. So, but right now I just sort of do things here and there. I'm not really involved in charities as I used to be when I was coaching and playing.
yeah,
When you're a dad of three, you just ain't got time to juggle. But my wife is involved in a lot of things still. So whatever she has going on, I just go there and support her.
there you go. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about athletes and social activism. So recently, you have several high profile athletes who've spoken out about some of the injustices in our country. And if you go back 20 years or so, you seldom heard athletes getting involved with social issues. So I'm curious, as an athlete, as someone, who's been around, what are your thoughts about athletes and social activism?
I think it's just a little different now because you got the social media platform to get your word out. Like a guy like LeBron. I mean, he got what 50, 60 million followers.
Yeah.
A lot of these athletes got millions and millions of followers, and people sort of listen to what else to a lot they say. I
Mm,
feel every athlete's a different. I know everybody gets on Michael Jordan, that they feel he should have been more involved in activism. I mean, that just wasn't his thing. He gives a lot to charity. He doesn't do it in public. He does it in private. And him and LeBron are sort of different. LeBron came up in the social media era. He loves the spotlight. He loves being on social media. I mean, but that's his personality. I mean, he likes going out and being social. He wants to be at these fashion shows. LeBron is LeBron. He has a brand. These young guys, are worrying about a lot of their brands sometimes.
yeah.
And in the old days, we were just focused on hoop. Back in the 90s, we were just trying to
Right.
tear people head off. But it's the evolution of, just our world and how things change. And, these athletes are making just super duper amounts of money right now.
Right.
Uh, you know, but
Yes.
I like what the guys are doing. They need to speak up in these causes. I like LeBron as a great leader, great father. I respect what he does. He's a great role model for the league.
Yeah, I think you hit on a really important point because sports really aren't about sports anymore as much as they are about entertainment. And so entertainment is what drives likes and social media and so forth. So that, like you said, the game has just changed. And so when they choose to use these platforms to not only make money but also make a difference, it just kind of solidifies their legacy, I think, long term. Because like I said, I think LeBron is a perfect example of someone who uses his celebrity to make a powerful, positive difference in the world. So I really respect him for that. Now, what I
Great.
love about your story are the obstacles that you had to overcome before you made it to the NBA. Because I'm reminded of a quote by Booker T. Washington, which says, "Success is not to be measured by what someone accomplishes in life. Success should be measured by the obstacles someone overcomes while trying to succeed." So I'd like to begin talking about some of the obstacles that you had to overcome. For example, you were drafted by the Milwaukee Bucks, but you were cut from the team during training camp. Now, that had to be difficult. How did you deal with that initial rejection?
It wasn't difficult. It just started way, way from high school. My journey sort of started way from high school. I was a late
Okay.
bloomer. My junior year, I played with Chris Mullin. Chris Mullin's a Hall of Fame basketball player from St. John's University. He played at Golden State. He's a Hall of Famer now. So he decided to transfer. Then my senior year, at Powell Memorial where Lou Alcindor went, I became the guy. So had a great year. I'm getting all these letters from all these big schools, and I'm not taking care of my books.
Mm,
End up going to a small Division II school. Me being one of the best players in New York and in the country, I ended up going to the Division II school. And that really rubbed me the wrong way. I'm like, man, I'm all my guys are at Syracuse, St. John's, all these big Division I, and here I am, one of the top 10 guys in New York going to Division II. So that really sort of started to chip on the Mario Elie shoulder that carried all the way to the league, and that's why I played the way I played. I just felt I always have to earn the respect. So, I was a 3-time All-American, in Division II. I had a great run, played against Manu Bol, Jerome Kersey, guys like that. And then you mentioned I got drafted 160th. And I tell everybody, you know how many draft picks were in that draft? 162. So I was a 7th-round draft pick, like you said. So in college, in high school and college, I was a great athlete. So at 6'4", I sort of played the forward position. So I would be able to, out jump guys. So I'm like, okay, I go to Milwaukee. I'm the second shortest guy in camp. But Don Nelson's like, you're the point guard for this second group. I'm like, what? So I go from playing forward to a point guard. And I never experienced like twice a day, 3 hours in the summer. So during training camp, we were going 3 hours a day, twice a day. And after the first day, dude, my legs were shaking.
Wow.
So I had to go to the pool that night. He said, if you want to get sorted inside, go to the pool and just walk for the pool. I really couldn't get to sleep. That's probably the only time in my life I was happy I got cut. It was very difficult back then. Right now, they don't do that. You only have one hard practice a day now. It's easy for these guys now. Back then, we were doing 2-hour practices a day for like a week or two. It was crazy.
Now, so let's talk a little bit about your career in Ireland. And it's called
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Uh-oh. Siri's picking up our conversation. So when you were in Ireland, I guess the league is called Killister, which I never even heard of that until I looked you up to.
The name of the team was called Killister.
Killister. Okay, that's the team, or is that the league? What's the league?
It was just like a Ireland professional league.
Okay.
But I tell you what, guys were putting up numbers over there. I remember getting discovered. I had got cut from Milwaukee. So I went and played. A friend of mine who I used to play in the Pro-Am with in New York, he said, Mary, I got a team that goes around in the winter that scrimmages colleges to get them ready. So he had a couple guys who played overseas, a couple guys who just wanted to play. So I'm like, yeah, I'll play. And I was just killing these dudes in college. I'm like, man, I'm getting 30 or 40. So I remember we playing Manhattan College, in New York City. And we playing that college. I may have one of my best games. And there was a professional team from Ireland watching. And I mean, after the game, said, hey, Mary, we'd love to offer you a job over there, man. We need a guy to score the ball. Would you like to come? I'm like, and that's how that happened. It was crazy. And that's sort of how my little basketball journey started, and then playing in this 6'5" and under league and the USBL and the CBA, Argentina, Portugal. So
now,
yeah.
while you were there, it said that you actually won Player of the Year while you were there.
I did. I was playing really, really well over there. Had a lot of confidence. I'm like, I'm scoring the ball real, real easy over here, So we lost in the championship over there, but in the cup, I had 44 points and got Player of the Year. But yeah, I was playing really, really well. Confidence level was really high. And it's funny, usually overseas, they don't have a lot of guards. It's usually big men. They always want guys 6'8", 6'9" over there. But I can really score the ball. And that's where I sort of transformed. When I got overseas, that's why I knew I had to learn how to dribble a little bit and shoot. So that's sort of how I developed my game, how I transferred to like a forward when I told you in college, to having to play guard in the NBA. So I had to learn how to shoot and dribble a little bit.
Now, when you played in Portugal, you guys won their first national title with you, right?
Yeah, me and my buddy Dwayne Johnson. Dwayne Johnson's from Queens, New York. He went to Marquette University, played 2 years with Doc Rivers. Was a very good player in New York City. Me and him were one of the top players coming out of New York, and we teamed up out there, and we won the championship. First ever for the team OVAR. And the second year, we lost in the championship. You know, my foot, I was injured that second year. We won the cup the second year, but we lost in the championship. But I wasn't 100%. But the team, you know, they played well. Give them credit.
Now, in Portugal, I'm curious. Obviously, in America, we are obsessed with basketball, right? And, you know, so basketball players are celebrities big time. I wonder, is it the same in Portugal for basketball players?
Absolutely. And my experience was amazing. You know, I grew up in a city of New York with 9 million people. I go to Portugal, northern Portugal, in a town called Ovar, you know, by the water. It was a farm town. The town only had 2 street lights in the whole town, but we were the show. Our team was the show. So the whole town would be 3,000-4,000 people packed, going crazy. Our home court was amazing that first year. Sold out every night. The town would come out after the game. We'll go to the restaurant. They would give us food, all the food we want. They were celebrating with us. It was an amazing experience. Teaching the barber how to cut our hair. So I had Americans for other town coming to our town because we taught the guy how to cut, you know, our hair. So the food was great. The people were amazing. And the experience was great.
Yeah. Now, in terms of competition, obviously, when you see the Olympics, right, you got the Americans, and in most cases, we kind of dominate basketball, right? So when you go to places like Portugal, for someone like yourself, is the competition, shall I say, I want to say less maybe, or is it more or as competitive as in America?
It's a little less, but it's still competitive
Yeah.
because over there, if you figure Europe out, a lot of these guys who play in these countries are like from Africa. You know, it's like soccer, like Mbappe. He's from Cameroon. He's not from France, but he was raised in France. You know, a lot of these African guys come migrate to these countries and they nationalize and they play as Portuguese, knowing a lot of these guys are from Nigeria, Mozambique, you know, different parts of Africa. So the best team, there was a team in the main town in Portugal called Benfica. They had guys from Africa. These dudes were 6'9" and 6'10", athletic, and then they were pretty darn good, you know. And they were pretty darn good. So those are the sort of things you run into, and you see guys going over there now. I mean, Israel's great league, Spain's a great league, Ilie's a great league. You know, you could go up there and over there and make a nice living for 10 or 12 years. You can make a couple $1 million over there. So I love when I see guys over there who's been over there 9 to 10 years and making a career, and the money's good over there too. And it's a great experience. You get to see the world. You know, I really enjoyed my experience over there. I got to see a lot of places being over there.
Nice. So now it's time to talk about the Houston Rockets. So I want to begin by sharing a quick clip, which is, in my opinion, my favorite moment of Mario Elie. So let me play this clip, and then we're going to talk a little bit about it.
But he missed number 22. We are tied, under 10 to play. That's 3 in the corner for Mario Elie. Can you believe that 3-point lead? Let's hear from Super Mario.
They didn't want Clyde or Dream. They wanted the other guys to beat them. So I was the one tonight to beat them, and I hope they have a nice vacation this summer.
Well, I think they were looking for Dream or myself, and Mario's a great three-point shooter. We have a lot of confidence in his ability, and as you saw, he knocked the shot down, and what a big shot it was.
Well, what did you think about as you saw that clip again? What the feeling came up for you?
It's just, you know, you remember it like yesterday. We were down 3-1, having to win 2 games in Phoenix, and just the resiliency of that group. Just an amazing group. And still to this day, I'm like, when I go somewhere, people remember me like yesterday. I'm like, man, this happened, almost 30 years ago. And people remember me like yesterday. I'm like, oh, just an amazing, you know, moment. Just being ready for that moment. You know, I remember Danny Ainge doubling in the backcourt. I know they were trying to rush us because we were holding for the last shot. So they were trying to rush our offense. We did a good job spacing the floor. And when you're with 2 Hall of Famers in Clyde and Dream, they're not leaving those 2 guys. So I was able to get that shot in the corner when the guy Danny Shays, who was guarding Dream, so I was about to shoot the ball. He tried to run out. Like, too late, buddy. Blow him the kiss of death. See you later. Have a nice vacation.
Yeah, I love that quote at the end. They have a nice vacation. Because weren't you guys the first visiting team to come back from a 3-1 deficit? I think. Yeah, I think you were the first team to come back from that. That was not the home team, if I remember correctly.
We didn't have home court that whole 95 run. Every other team had home court against us, so we had to go on the road. To win the championship, we won 9 out of 15 games on the road. In that Phoenix series, I mean, having to win 2 out of 3, 2 in their place. I mean, Barkley and Kevin Johnson and Marley, those guys were a pain in the butt, man. We had to meet those guys every year, but we always got the last laugh.
So, in terms of your NBA career, where would you rate that shot? Top 3, number 1? Where would you rate that shot?
I would rate it top. Now, I made a couple big shots in my run, but that's what people remember. It's an NBA history, which I'm proud of. I think it's the 51st greatest playoff moment. I'm proud to be part of history.
Yeah.
That
was beautiful.
What I like was my game 4 in Orlando, having 22 points, being the second highest scorer behind Dream. Shooting like 65% from 3 that series.
Wow.
Averaging 16 points. And they had, what got me mad, they had, before the finals, they always have the matchups. So it was Penny against Kenny, Anderson against Clyde. They had Dennis Scott over me. And I was pissed about that. I'm like, what? All he do is shoot threes. That's all he do. How y'all got him over me? And I made sure to make a point to have a good series. And at the end, of course, they had me out playing them that series. I'm like, come on, man. So took that a little personal.
Now, was that the same year?
95 when we played Orlando. We played the Knicks the first year.
Okay.
Remember the OJ one when OJ, the juice was loose, that first final.
Gotcha.
Remember that they had OJ on one screen and they had our game on the other screen in game 5 in New York in 94.
Right.
Well, the Bronco was gone, and I'm like, what is everybody watching at the game? Everybody wasn't watching the game. They were looking at the TV because they said it's a split screen. They said OJ's running from the cops. I'm like, wow, in the middle of the finals? Are you serious? So that's crazy.
I know this is going to be hard to do, but I'm just curious. When you're sitting there and you guys have that trophy and you are the NBA world champion, what is that like? I can't even imagine how good that must feel.
It's something you have to go through. It's an amazing feeling. It's an accomplishment. Each team sets out a goal, in the beginning of the season. I always say there's only one team happy at the end of the year. It don't matter if you go to the finals. You ain't happy to go to the final. You want to win it.
Right.
I was fortunate, like you mentioned, to win it 3 times. And then just when we won that game 6, when Dream blocked that shot, we were so confident in game 7. Like 6 or 7 of us already ordered our limos for after the game because we knew we were going to win the game, and we end up winning the game and going out, just seeing the people just happy. There's no violence out there. There's just joy and jubilation. People stopping on Highway 59, getting out, hugging each other, celebrating. Ain't nobody fussing or honking. Everybody's just happy. No, there's no argument, maybe just hugging each other, just rockets, and just the summer, the whole summer, you're just on a high. You don't have to pay for nothing. People know who you are. I mean, just every time somebody sees people are excited. The city was just those 2 years, the city was just on fire. Yeah. I mean, we could go nowhere. Just enjoy, just the joy. Seeing 500,700,000 people downtown celebrating with you, Richmond just packed. Just the whole back in the day, we know Richmond had all the bars, they were all packed. I'm looking at the newspaper, the Houston Chronicle. I'm like, wow, look at all these people. Nothing violent happened, just people enjoying it. We were just happy to bring the first championships to this great city, and they never forgot that.
Now, so here's a perspective for the audience who don't know anything about Houston. So as he's mentioned, Houston used to be like the Strip. That's where the clubs were. It was great. So in Houston, we have a street called Chimney Rock, and we have another street called Hillcroft. Basically, no more than 2 miles apart. On a normal day, it takes you maybe 5 minutes to go from Chimney Rock to Hillcroft. During that time when they won that championship, I was on Richmond. It took me 1 hour and 10 minutes to go from Chimney Rock to that's how many cars were out there. I mean, it was just insane, the amount of people. And everybody, like you said, was just having a good time. People standing on top of cars, and it was just unbelievable. So memorable. That was just awesome. Now, I am curious though, Mario. So you guys win this championship. I can imagine, you're in the locker room and you guys are partying and celebrating. When you have that type of camaraderie, I'm curious, as that team, the Houston Rockets, when you won the first championship, were you and the teammates really close outside of the game?
That's what made it easy for us on the court. We were tight, even in practice, we would almost fight each other. We would almost kill each other in practice sometimes. But once hoop was over and it was time to leave, I mean, it'd be 5 or 6 of us going to eat together, just laughing about what almost happened in practice. And we enjoyed being around each other, and it carried over to the court. And as you remember, we got off to that 15-0 start, 23-1. We came out on fire, And the reason we lost number 16, I remember we beat New York and went 15-0. We had Atlanta on the back-to-back. And our plane, something happened to our plane. We didn't get to Atlanta to like 4:30 in the morning on the back-to-back. So I'm like, man, we really ain't get no good rest. So Atlanta whooped our butt that next night. But yeah, it started in training camp. I mean, myself, Sam, Vernon, Kenny, Dream, Otis. I'm like, man, this a nice, and Scotty Brooks. I mean, Carl Herrera. Like, we had a nice little squad there. I'm like, okay, we could do something with these guys. And that's what we did. We had a great year. Robert almost getting traded and him having to come back. I mean, trading for Clyde the second year. I mean, went through a lot with that squad, but, the main, long as you had number 34 in that middle, you will have a chance to win the championship.
Now, do you keep up with many of your teammates today?
All of them, of course. Sam is coaching in Boston now. I saw him in Las Vegas. I talked to Clyde last week. Robert, last I texted him, he was down in New Zealand doing that celebrity, there's a celebrity thing that, training in the jungle. I don't know what you call it. He was down doing some celebrity. They got him doing all this nature and hard stuff. I'm like, what you doing, dude? Dream I see at the games when I go to the games. Carl Herrera, me and him text. Who else? Vernon's in Charlotte. Kenny's doing this thing, as you know.
Yeah.
Hollywood Kenny Smith now, he's on TV all the time, but it's a special bond. You share a special bond with these guys that you went to war with and did something pretty neat.
Now, was there someone in the NBA that you played against that you loved playing against him, but you knew that you had your work cut out for you that game?
That's a bunch of guys, man. It's a long laundry list, man. I'm in the 90s, man. It's basketball. I mean, Jordan, of course.
Yeah.
Clyde when he wasn't with us. Mitch Richmond, Glenn Rice, Jimmy Jackson, Jamal Mashburn, Grant Hill, Young Iverson, Kobe, Vince Carter, Carl. I mean, well, I didn't play against Carl, but Marley, having to guard him all the time. He was a good shooter. Who we had in with Derek, Ron Harper, Orlando Blackman. I mean,
I mean, because you were known for defense. I mean, obviously you're a scorer too, but you were known for great defense.
Well, back when we played, it was physical, but Ricky Pierce, these guys were good. These guys didn't mind about the physicality didn't bother these guys, man. That's why I like our era. The physicality didn't bother these guys were so good. It didn't bother them. They played through it. I don't understand why nowadays you're not allowing that. You gotta be able to give some resistance. You can't make it easy on the offense.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like football now. They're making it easy. You can't breathe on the quarterback. You breathe on the quarterback. I'm from the Lawrence Taylor days. I'm from New York. LT, that's my guy, so that's the defense I know.
So again, I just want to say thank you, man, for the memories. Like I said, you and that team just lit up this city like nothing else. It was just amazing. And of course, it got sad because somebody moved to San Antonio. What happened there? How'd you get to San Antonio?
Well, it's the business of the NBA. Clyde was sort of winding down. We had an old dream. We traded for Barkley. So things were, we traded. I love Barkley, one of the great teammates. We traded Sam, Robert, Mark Bryant, Chuck. We traded some young guys who can still play. I didn't understand that decision. Maybe 2 years prior, that Barkley, I would have took that Barkley, but not this Barkley here. We sort of got him towards at the tail end. Barkley's a tremendous talent, but we sort of got him at the tail end. And I remember that they traded me. They said, in the news, like, oh, Mario been traded to Toronto. I'm like, wow, I didn't even know.
Oh.
And I don't know why the trade didn't go through, but that took me for a loop. So when the news was calling me and came to my house, I was like, man, I'm disappointed. I didn't believe the Rockets would do that. At least they would. I wish they would at least told me. But this is when I knew this was a business. And, I badmouthed the Rockets. I'm like, man, you ain't tell me I was going to get traded. But the trade fell through, so I had to go back. So that was the longest sort of month and a half in the Rockets. So I knew the marriage was over. So once that season was over, I had a couple options. So I'm like, man, David Robinson, Tim Duncan. I'm like, that's not bad. So I go down there, I-10 West, and hey, get my third championship.
You still have your rings?
I do.
Great memories. Now, there is nothing easy about becoming a professional athlete. It takes commitment, hard work, perseverance, patience, and a deep level of inner faith. And you obviously have all of those qualities. So I'm curious, where or who do you think you received those qualities from? Where do you get that?
I just think my mom. My mom was a super religious lady. And especially when my sort of dad passed away, my dad passed away when I just graduated a year out of college. And then she really got deep into faith, and she always believed in me. I always can confide in her. And she said, your dad said you always was going to make it. He said, my dad would tell her I was going to make it. And that really, really stuck with me. And it ended up happening. And one thing about my mom, she always supported me 1,000,000%. Anything I do, she said, you can do it. Go out. If you believe you can do it, follow your dreams. And my mom allowed me to follow my dreams. And playing in the league, 11 great years, winning 3 championships, playing overseas, 4 years, getting a chance to see the world. Looking on my phone, I'm like, man, I got Clyde Drew. I got one of the top 50 players on my phone. I'm like, I got Sam Cassell, I got Robert Horry, I got 7 rings. So these are the kind of, guys you get to meet in the league and to be involved with. So, got a couple of friends who are actors. So you get to sort of meet a couple of cool people.
Yeah. So you touched upon it just a little bit. So what role does spirituality play in your life today?
Big time. I'm sad about my guy downtown, Rudy and Juanita. They retired. That used to be that was me and my family's church. We used to go down to St. John's. Just love the energy in there. Got the kids baptized down there, and just love the energy and the message, and them giving back to the community, and that's what it's all about. Helping others out. That's your job as a role model. Is to just try to look out for other people. So always respect them too. Giving back to the Houston community, and my kids always love going down there, especially my daughter. Always wants to go down there on a Sunday, listen to a good word. I grew up Catholic in New York City. My wife is Baptist, but Catholic church is just quiet and calm. I sort of love the energy and the singing of a Baptist church. It just gives me good chills and energy when I can go in a building and people are just in there standing up, clapping and singing, and God bless me, like you said, 7th round pick, 160th pick, and I can give somebody a trivia question for the Rockets. Who's third all time in Rockets playoff games played? Can you name that player?
I can't.
His name is Mario Elie, and he only played 5 years for the Rockets. I'm behind Akeem Olajuwon and James Harden, who both played like 8 or 9. I mean, James played here 8 or 9 years. Dream played here 14 years. I only played 5 years, and I'm third all time in playoff games played. So that's a little trivia question. Look at all the great players that played here: Moses, Calvin Murphy, Rudy T, Robert Reed, Rodney McCray, Ralph Sampson. I'm before all those guys. Kenny Smith, Vernon Maxwell. I'm third all time. So that's what I'm proud of.
Nice.
I played when it counted for my team. So I think that's why people recognize me around the town. It's pretty cool. They still show me a lot of love. That's why I love this city. They remember.
So I'm curious, do you have any regrets about playing in the NBA?
No regrets.
No regrets.
I mean, just unfortunate. I had a couple of injuries, and I wish that didn't happen. But the competition, the camaraderie. I played 11 years in the NBA and made the playoffs every year. I have 116 games total played in the NBA. That's quite a bit. So I was sort of out there when it mattered. I'm very proud of that. I mean, Tim Hardaway, Mitch Richmond, Chris Mullin, Clyde Drexler, Jerome Kersey, Terry Porter, Olajuwon, Otis Thorpe, Robert Horry, Sam Cassell, Vernon Maxwell, Kenny Smith, David Robinson, Sean Elliott, Tim Duncan, Avery Johnson, Jason Kidd, and these are the guys I got a chance to play with, some of the greatest who ever laced them up. And it was just a pleasure and a privilege. I played for the competition. I'm not a fan of these super teams. You don't want to play. It's not like, to me, NBA now is AAU. All these guys want to play with each other. You're supposed to want to play against them. That's what the NBA is all about. It's about competition. So I'm sort of liking what the commissioner's doing now. He's sort of cutting down on the super teams. He wants balance in the league, and that's the way it should be.
Got it. Now, for all the brothers out there who may be struggling and may not believe it's possible for them to live their dreams and become successful, what's your advice to them?
You got to put in the work. It's a lifestyle now. It's a lifestyle, getting up, working out. I grew up in the era when we played in the park. You get your 5. So I'm on the court, you bring your 5. So me and my brother, man, we used to be on the court from 8 to 6. They couldn't get us off. 8, 9-0, 10-0. We used to run. We used to go to different parks in New York City, play physical, game point taking 45 minutes because it's fouling and everybody making calls. So point game would take 40 minutes. So that's how I grew up. I had a great experience growing up in New York. Tournament games, there's 2,000-3,000 people in a summer tournament game. You can't even see the baseline. People on fences, on trees, watching the best players in the city play. Just an amazing environment. Just 2,000-3,000 people coming just a park game. That's why Durant and Kobe, God bless his soul, all these NBA players wanted to play in New York because it was that environment. Playing in front of like you in a real game. It's just people everywhere. They come to see you. The music is blasting. I mean, the guys are excited. You dunk on somebody, everybody runs on the court. I mean, you see, there's a clip of Kevin Durant playing up there. I think he scored 60 points. He hit like maybe a couple of threes in a row, and the guys just run on the court. I mean, it's just amazing. And that's where you get your toughness from, playing in that environment. And you got a guy on the mic. If you don't step up, he's gonna make fun of you. So, but when you're doing well, they're gonna pump you up. But when you're not doing well, they're gonna call you out.
Now, as we wind down the interview, I'm wondering do you have a favorite quote or something that runs through your mind, like when you're getting ready for games, or maybe you're struggling, you're just trying to pull yourself back up? Do you have a quote that you rely on to kind of make sure you stay in the groove?
Nah, I just keep a routine. My thing on a game day is, I was a very focused guy on the court because you mentioned I was a defensive guy, so I'm always guarding the best player on the other team. So I would just take one phone call a day. It was from my mom. I wanted to talk to her. And sort of after shoot around, I would just sort of tune into the game, lock in, quiet, no phone calls, just thinking about the scout report. Grand Hill tonight, I got to take away his crossover. Mashburn, I got to take away his mid-range. I'm always – and Jordan, you ain't getting no sleep. You like the black cat coming to town. I got to be on my game tonight. So it was just, game day was just it was a good time for me. Just relax my mind. My food, always the pregame nap before the game was always key for me. Then I'm on the bus thinking, just prepare. I was always prepared. That's one thing. I was always prepared. I knew I had a tough assignment, took it very, very seriously. And most important, if I got beat, I knew Elijah wanted to have my back. So that was most important. If I got beat, I knew Elijah wanted to have my back.
There you go. So as we wind down, I want to give you an opportunity now just to kind of share your final thoughts. Whatever's on your heart to share with the audience.
Just want to thank the great people of Houston. I've been here since '93. I'm a New Yorker, through and through, but I spent like almost 55-60% of my life in this great city. So I'm very appreciative of the people here, of the relationships I have here. And like with you, man, I go see you at the store, and it's always pleasantries. It's nothing. I sort of like that right now. Before it was just when I used to go out, it used to be, now that I'm older, it's cool now. People do recognize me. They'll double take, Elie? I'm like, yes. And just live life day by day. I always thank the Lord every morning for a breath. Everybody takes that for granted. When I wake up, I thank the Lord. That's the first thing I do. Just thank Him for giving me breath. I pray for my wife. I pray for my kids. I miss my mom all the time. I pray for her and my dad and my brother. And just I'm a thankful guy. Met my wife here, raised my kids here. So Houston's a special place in my heart, and really enjoyed raising my family here. So, and most important, Houston got some good food, man. You're gonna eat good down here, brother. You're gonna eat good down here. The people are fantastic. I mean, what I love about Houston, you look at the sports. We got an African American coach in football, baseball, and basketball. So, real excited about that. I'm real excited about these young Rockets. I think they're gonna be fun to watch this year. I'm excited about D'Amico. I know he's gonna bring great energy for this city. And I never forget. I always tell people, this is a football town. Houston, Texas, it's a football state. So I sort of figured that out early when I came down here. But just thankful to raise my family here. I'm very thankful to the city of Houston, and I thank you for having me. I try not to do too many these things. I like going out quietly I always like getting on a podcast now and then.
Well, again, I appreciate you spending some time with us, man. And like I said, I've always been a big fan. And so thank you for the memories. Like I said, I'll never forget. That'll stay with me forever, that shot.
That summer was on fire. I mean, packed every night.
Yep.
And like I said, people still come up to me to this day. I was in that summer when you played. I said, we played for y'all, boy. We had the best fan. It was just a great atmosphere to play in.
Yeah. But more importantly, though, Mario, I just want to thank you for who you are, man. And when I approached you to be on my podcast, I mean, you were just like super approachable, really cool, no, not facetious or anything. So again, thank you for who you are as just a regular guy just coming in. We know what you've done, but even more importantly, you're just a good guy. So again, I thank you. I appreciate you showing up on Shatter the Stereotypes, and I wish you continued success in all of your endeavors, my friend.
Thank you, my brother, and thank you for having me. Had a great chat with you, brother. It's always good talking about the good old days.
There you go. So this has been another episode of Shatter the Stereotypes, and always remember, you have the capacity to create an extraordinary life, but to do so, you must be willing to put forth extraordinary effort. We'll see you next episode. Take care.